Hello and welcome to what might be the final episode of the boss tournament, as we have now advanced to the 1v1 knockout playoff stage. We start off with 64 players, and now only 16 remain. For round 1, I, the 3 seed, will be facing off against Lazy Lizard, the 2 seed. Should be an interesting one because this week is a normal Phayze, least cash, with the map being Luminous Cove. The ban heroes are Geraldo and Brickle, and no Beast Handler with a max cap of 10 subs, 5 boats, and 2 ice towers. No Paragons also. So nothing too crazy in terms of restrictions this round. I thought there was going to be something spicy. But upon seeing these rows, I hopped into my test runs, and this was my very first thought. The good old trusty Mad combo. However, in order for the Mad to be able to shoot above the track, it needs to be placed on top of a carrier flagship, which doesn't actually synergize too well with Mad in terms of giving buffs on it, because Ultra Boost doesn't increase the plane attack speed. So after some quick testing, I concluded that Call to Arms Ultra Boost Mad is very close to working, probably can work if I micro better, but honestly, I didn't feel good about this strategy at all, because it was so much money sink into 2 towers, one being the Mad and over 80k in the Ultra Boost. I was like, surely something can do better than 246k, which, by the way, I actually didn't need the bank, but I was just testing money and income. And the funny thing with least cash is that, like, your score compounds. The less money you need for defense, the less you need to farm, to the point where sometimes you might not even have to farm at all. But yeah, if Mad was the best thing I came up with, I would have ended up being very, very disappointed. But thankfully, I decided to test something that took a little bit more time to set up, and, well, it's a ninja army. Anybody find this familiar? Well, there's 2 issues with a ninja army. One, there's no Geraldo, so unlike the week where I got 2nd place overall, I cannot use Jerry Fire to cheese a bunch of damage in. It's just gotta be a raw shinobi army. And it didn't look very promising at first, because even after spending more money on this defense, it actually performed about the same as Mad. Luminous Cove is tough for ninjas because, 1, you have to place them all in water, so you have to get an ice tower for it. However, the way this map works is that you can't really fit that many towers on the top pond, so your shinobi and Bloons TD army is kind of segmented, making it hard to get a lot of Bloons TDs with 20 stacks. However, after some more time in the lab, let me show you what I eventually came up with. Starting from the very beginning, Azili is going to be put on the right side. And before doing any ninja setup, we got to get that ice down immediately. Thankfully, Luminous Cove loops around twice, so we can actually use an ice tower that we're going to turn into a snowstorm. We can use that to defend early, and it defends surprisingly well. The first thing you might notice is that the placement of the ice tower is different. And the reason is simple. This ice spot will allow me to get more ninjas on water. It'll start making more sense later as I build my defense. I do have to get a ninja to help pop a couple more white balloons here. One thing that should be noted is that it's least cash, so discounting is incredibly important. However, my main village is also going to be on water, so I can't discount my initial ice tower, meaning I have to rush a snowstorm as soon as I can, and whatever towers to drop early game should be far enough away from my village placement that it's never going to be discounted anyway, so I can afford to spend money dropping it down. That's why I got ice shards. And surprisingly, such a ragtag defense is enough to save for a snowstorm. And now we can start dropping some towers down. The snowstorm is placed in a spot where you can pretty much put your land and water towers down seamlessly. Because I don't want to get absolute 0. That's 15k spent on no extra damage, just extra water space. So that's why our army is going to be a little bit more centered towards the bottom right, so that we don't have to put all of them on water, because there's simply not enough space without absolute 0. I also decided I think I'm going to do double discounts. I think the second discount will pay off in the long run, as well as giving the initial village a little bit more range to be able to discount further. And now we'll bring on Phayze. We have a little bit of time before we can start damaging, so thankfully we can start building up some damage, because we have nothing right now. And let me just say, it is very, very, very important that every ninja I upgrade has the max amount of discounts that can be reached. Like, for example, this ninja's max discounts are 1 discount village, because obviously, even with giving a Azili Totem, this village is not going to be able to reach it. So I can freely upgrade this one now. And now, right as Phayze is in range, we already have 1 Jitsu and 1 Embrutement set up. We'll drop our totem down now. And this one's max discounts are also just 1. Okay, technically the cat totem didn't reach down here, but trust me, I'm pretty sure you cannot upgrade that or discount that even further. The biggest question is, do I have enough time, despite getting my defense so late here, or spending so much money on non-defending? Can 2 Jitsus with an Embrutement take down tier 1? It's quite interesting because in least cash, normally only tier 5 ends up mattering, but because we have no income to start, things are pretty gnarly even at tier 1. And I can double discount this one. Now we can build a 3rd ninja and pretty much get our 4th started too over here. Now this one's going to be a shinobi, I've already decided. So good to know so far, we have not missed any discounts. Hopefully we don't have to buy anything else, because I like to take my time and pause the rounds, like before dropping further defense. So hopefully we just kill Phayze, then we can take our time discounting everything to the max. That's gonna kill me. Alright, fine. I'll drop 1 more totem down, and that should clear. Nice. Before we build more D for defense, we're gonna wait to use Zealie's totem until Phayze is in range and then start double discounting more things that I previously couldn't before, so wait for it. Because obviously this is not enough to defend tier 2 right now. It's in range now, so drop the totem. And with the increased range from the village, we have 30 seconds to drop a doubly discounted ninja over here. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then let's do a glue gunner. This glue gunner is going to be an 041. It has close to full uptime, about 90%, of giving +2 damage. So as you see when I press the ability, the damage goes down so much faster, and that I think should be enough. I guess if not, throw some more shinobis in the mix. Okay, another totem. I think now we're gonna drop our alchemist down because the ninja army badly needs a perma-brew. Last call. This is about on pace with tier 1, so there should be enough time to finish everything off. And now tier 3. I'm trying to see if I can make the leap straight to perma-brew in the middle of this round, but I am a little bit short. Thankfully, even without buying much more since tier 2, we're doing a decent amount of damage. It might be too late, though. I might have to delay P-Brew till after tier 2, though, if I'm still short after all of this, and it seems like I am going to be 48,000 now. Okay. There's still time to salvage. Yeah, perma-brew takes time to brew everything, and it lands on the closest monkeys first, so these Jitsus still don't have P-Brew on them. And yeah, there's just not going to be enough time. So we have to spend the other 30k we had starting this round, starting this tier, on more ninjas instead, without P-Brew. While not spending too much so that we at least have perma-brew for tier 4. So once again, wait for Phayze to be in range. The ninjas can attack it now. Drop totem, and I think we can drop our final 2 ninjas on the left side. Both of which can be discounted. 1 and 2, beautiful. Both of these are very far away from our middle, or center. So they're both going to be shinobis. I can actually drop 1 more ninja over here, but obviously, I like to buy as little undiscounted shinobis as possible. We already have 1 undiscounted over here. It would just hurt to buy more that aren't cheap, because the difference between a double discount shinobi and non-discount is actually about 600 bucks, which is not nothing when it comes to a normal boss here. Also, in case you're wondering, I haven't decided exactly which I want to turn, like the ones on the fence. These are close to the middle, but not quite. So I'm not sure which one right now I want to turn into a Bloons Jitsu or a Shinobi. So I'm keeping my options open by not cross-pathing them yet. But hopefully that's still enough to defend this. It's going to be a lot closer than attempt 1, but sadly, I still think I need a little bit more. I kind of have to decide which I want to turn to Shinobis and Jitsus now. I think that's the difference. Alright, call in the big gun. 7 Jitsus now, all between 10 and 13 stacks. Is that not definitive enough? Don't know about you, but seems good to me. And also, wait till level 16 Azealia before using Totem. We had it immediately, but if I use it after level 16, the Totem lasts 2 times as long. And I think that is definitely going down fast enough that I don't need to buy anything more here. Come on. Last skull now. Yep. This is doable. Just gotta be careful about getting overwhelmed. We'll save our Hex for it if we really badly need it. This is gonna come down to the wire in it. One more Totem. 20k HP to go. Don't worry, because we can still do damage all the way this far away. Bad timing. I'm really going to die to the DTs, aren't I? Wow, okay. Okay, I really didn't want to drop this now, but let's do it. We're gonna go for a Shrapnel Cripple Moab. Let's see if I can try to target the DDTs coming in, like that. Does that buy me enough time? Oh, okay. I think it will work. After a couple more thousand monkey money spent, of course. But Crib Mob is already a staple in this defense because plus 5 damage. I just now need to get good. Okay, let's try this again. Snowstorm? Perfect. That did it. Crib Mob early allows the Brittle to hit the DTs, and then that allows Snowstorm, which doesn't have Top Path, to freeze them. And that's how we barely squeeze out of Tier 3, I think. Didn't have to make it this close, but this means I don't have to go further back in time in order to fix my strategy. When I mean back in time, I mean I make saves so that, say, I built the wrong thing on round 99. And then I only realized I made a mistake on round 123, but in boss challenge, you can only go back to the previous tier at most. So saves allow you to go back even further, which I've heard people say that's not fair, but that's literally in the rules of this tournament as being allowed. And trust me, every top bosser does this. For example, in the previous timed week, I got my folder looking something like this, making a save literally every 3 rounds because I need every round to be perfect, basically. Anyway, finally got P-Brew on round 96. This should give us enough time to brew everything. Don't forget too, we can use Zilly Totem, see how useful it is, to increase the perimeter range so it can buff things that it couldn't previously. The goal is to hopefully have every Bloons Jutsu I have to be at 20 stacks before even using the Totem. The Totem helps because it increases the range of the further Shinobi, so they tend to get more stacks. Right now, they're all between 17 and 19. Without it, it's between 14 and 18, I believe. Once again, still holding off in terms of some of the other upgrades, because I'm not sure which one is best. With Permbrew, damn, we shred through tier 4 so easily. Add a Crib Mob to that mix too. And with that, I'm not exaggerating, we are now about 10% done this playoff stage. The other 90% is optimizing how much money I can cut. For this live commentary run, I'm probably going to play it a lot safer though, just so I can show you the proof of concept of like how tier 5 looks. And then from there, I'm going to cut and upgrade one by one, I think. Now here's what I'm going to add that should hopefully be considered a safe kill. I'm going to do a second Glue Strike because the first one, as I said, doesn't have full uptime. So I'm going to go for a top cross path to get full uptime. And also, this does +1 damage. +3 instead of +2 for bottom. Drop Totem now that everything is in range. Use Glue Strike. And I'm going to add one more, I think, can be put on the water to get Perma 20. There we go. No discount, so that's a big rip. But we're going to buy Caltrops on all of these again to be safe. Caltrops adds like a solid 10k damage, which is very much necessary for survival. And what I should be doing is trying to sync the uptime of the Glue Strikes. I kind of done goofed, and what I should be doing is only activating the 240 after about 2/3 of this cooldown has run out. A 240 only has 11-second uptime, so we should try to sync it so that there's 11 seconds left on this Glue Strike, so I can get +3 for 11, and then +2 for the last 19. We have got to get to the last skull early, though, so that the balloon spawns aren't so forward. Let's see. Final jump forward? Okay. I think this is manageable. And even without super optimizing, I'm already going to be, I think, pretty happy with this score here. I think I'm going to need a Hex also for round 129. Seems like a very difficult round. It also looks like I'm going to die, because how am I going to do 300k HP when Phayze is literally all the way over there. Well, hold my beer. I don't drink beer, actually. Hold my non-alcoholic beer. That didn't work. I think I need to hex the ZMGs instantly. In a way, though, having Bloons over here for longer is actually a good thing, because this makes it so that... Oh, I'm just dead. But this makes it so that the ninjas that are out of range of Phayze can actually still attack Bloons. I also have no idea how I'm going to defend 129, but trust me, it is doable. Oh, it's just the portal forward over here, and all the Moabs and BFBs, yeah. I might not even be able to beat this proof of concept run, sadly. Well, it's definitely not that we lack DPS to beat Phayze, it's literally just the AI. So if this doesn't work out, I will probably see you in a little bit while I figure out how the hell to survive this. Now, there's probably a way to make it more reliable, but just restarting from 120 again allowed me to just change the timing of the Phayze pull. For those who don't know what Phayze pull is, every 24 seconds, it will pulse out and then Bloons will warp towards Phayze, which was unlucky timing on round 129. So just by changing how long it takes to beat each of the previous rounds this time around, even though I did die, the Phayze pull on 129 ends up happening much earlier, which is better for us because now all those ZMGs afterwards do not get pulled, and so we can survive. And thus, finally beat the boss with a decent amount of track length to spare. Yes, I consider that decent, because we're talking about least cash, we gotta minimize everything. Phayze must die at the last possible second, no more, no less. So this score ended up being 228k, but instead of cutting one upgrade at a time, I just made a big leap. Many iterations later, I was able to make a 223k strategy work. Here's what's changed. First off, only one glue gunner. I realized my first step with 2 glues was flawed because apparently glue does not refresh. Like if I activate 042 before 240 times out, then when the 240 glue times out, I don't have the +2 from the 042. So it's completely worthless. And 1042 ended up giving basically the same DPS. Additionally, 102 ninjas on the left side were cheaper. Round 129 with this loadout was still super annoying, but luckily in this run, the Phayze pull happened really late, and I was able to survive. Just by the skin of my teeth, though. Anyway, this kill also ended up not being quite a last-second kill. I think Phayze still has at least 10 seconds or 15 before exiting. So we can actually push this 223k even more. However, shortly after this run, I made a discovery. This is not the best strategy. All those hours I spent on ninjas just went down the drain because of this tower. Yep, we're back to mad again. Even though, wait, didn't I say earlier that this couldn't work because it was more expensive and less effective? Well, I'll get into more details later, but one important thing to note is that I actually didn't need Carrier Flagship. Having the mad ability literally just hit the wall is good enough to get to damage Phayze, believe it or not. More details on that by the end, but let's start over from square one again. Surprisingly, the early game is actually the exact same. Because I want to get an Arctic Wind and discount, it's just Arctic Wind into Azealia, into discount, and then a Heli Pilot, which is going to be absolutely crucial for this strategy later. With the same ice placement as Ninja, I can get double discounts on every tower in radius here. We have our Mad in the middle, with Outbuff next to it. That's what we're going to do to beat tier 1. Just a Rocket Storm with Laser Shock, Outbuff, and Jolly Drums is enough to take care of it easy. The overview of this will be brief because sadly I spent a lot of the runtime of this video already on a strategy that I didn't end up using in the first place, but that's just in proportion to what I spent in the tournament too, so maybe you can relate to that. On tier 2, I couldn't afford Mad this tier obviously, so I decided on Glue Strike. This was the cheapest tower that I felt could help the Rocket Storm to beat tier 2 because +2 damage and the Rocket Storm has very low base damage, so it actually, I think, almost doubled its damage output because without Glue Strike, I think it only took out 60% of Phayze. We have Overclock 2, and that's gonna be enough to take down Phayze with plenty of time to spare. Now, because I spent on Glue Strike, I can't afford Mad at the start of 80. I have to wait until approximately around 83 in order to afford it. So what I did these rounds was try to end them as quickly as possible, whether by using Rocket Storm or Hex to kill off the last BFB or whatnot. And so, we have enough time to survive Phayze's jumps forward, because these are the latest jumps by far. Thankfully, all it takes is literally one mad ability to wipe out an entire skull, so we literally just have to survive between each mad cycle, and it was fairly difficult. As you see, I literally have nothing to damage ceramics except for an ice tower to freeze them, so it's up to Azili and Mad to do the remaining damage. Very annoying, but this was not even the most annoying tier. Tier 4 was even more annoying. We now have a Homeland added to the mix, and believe it or not, we're not going for Ultra Boost in this run. I said Mad Ultra Boost is so expensive, so this time, we're just gonna save 72,000. While it's brutal to lose out on that much attack speed, the Homeland more than makes up for it, because the majority of the Mad's damage is in the ability in the first place, so we just time every single Mad ability with every attack speed buff. So Totem, Homeland, Overclock, and that is also enough to basically take out an entire skull in one cycle, but defending the balloons coming in is the hardest part of this. The good old pause menu makes another appearance again, as I have to really make sure I micro my mob shove and dartling well so that I don't leak those pesky ceramics. As we try to wait for the final cycle, this tier took probably around 5 attempts to get right. And worst of all, even after killing the boss, the struggle still isn't over, at least between tier 4 and tier 5. Because unlike ninjas, the non-phase rounds were still an absolutely brutal threat. Like 104, I had to make sure to juggle all my abilities. That round also took multiple attempts. Not going to show you the rest of that, but just know that it was brutal and it sucked. And I want to bring you over to tier 5, where I'm going to live commentate, hopefully this time, the final version. Believe it or not, I hope this is going to be my final setup, which is going to absolutely smash that ninja record of 182k, 595, over $40,000 saved. And how do I do it? Well, this is where the mob shove is absolutely necessary for this strategy. Because you're probably thinking, if I was struggling to like round 104 so much, then how am I going to survive like the mid 120s, 130 while Phayze is active too? It sounds like an impossible task, and it is, and that's why we're going to use shove to stall rounds. But first off, let me just use one burst of ability, and you can see we don't need no carrier or anything. Just have the Mad do one giant burst to start, and now that we can't damage it anymore, just focus on defending the balloons here, okay? I actually want to beat round 120, and I'll do whatever I can to beat it, including wasting a Mad ability on this while I cannot hit Phayze for the time being. But the thing is, I don't want to just end around 120. I actually want to end it in a perfect way, so let me first off wait till I see a Phayze pull. Remember how I said every 24 seconds it does it? Well, I timed my Phayze pull for, well, 4 seconds after it doing that for the round to end. And I have preset my heli shove to lock in place, because I want you to take a look at the top left corner here, okay? We have got a FBFB stuck in place. Phayze did a Phayze pull, but the shove keeps it in place. And this is where things start getting really crazy. Let's hope I can survive this part first off. We got a Mad ability. Not perfectly timed, so I might have to redo the run because I lack bad damage, but this is good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to beat all of Phayze before round 121 ends, and we can do that because that FBFE is not going to die. And this is why I tell you that I'm not such a genius that I figured this out on my own. In fact, this is the part where I tell you that I actually figured out this trick from a YouTube video made by one of the organizers of this tournament, because there was an official Phayze event several months ago where the organizer actually got first place using Mad, and in this video I learned of this mob shove trick that you can infinitely stall an FBFB in around 121, so thanks, I guess. That event was on curve though, so we couldn't get anywhere close to 105k. That's why I have to add a Homeland to the mix to actually make this possible, as Luminous Cove is a bit shorter of a map. So again, as you see, I'm holding for all 3 abilities every cycle. Totem has 2/3 uptime, so it is active for this one as well. There is a chance, though, I might have to still redo this because we only hit halfway right about here, which is quite a bit behind where I would like it. Let us use another cycle and blast this now. If this ends up working, I think this has to be my final because I don't know where else to cut. I doubly discounted everything except for, I guess, one tower at the very start. However, I don't really see a way around that, and that would at most save like $100, which hopefully it would not make a difference in the end. And it does seem like this run, I do have to be a little bit better and do more like damage on round 120. I think I left some on the table, and oh, okay, that was not part of the plan too. Apparently, the FBFE actually popped, which sucks because it's because Homeland doubles the attack speed of the shove, which makes it the stall last half as long. There is something I can do about that though. If that ends up being an issue, there's still an F mob which can add to the stall, but that doesn't matter. I'm actually still, wow, a huge amount of damage off. But believe me, I think this is going to be enough. I just have to lock in, so I'll see you in however long it takes. 1 hour of attempts later, I finally got this run. The key is basically to get as many cycles of Homeland, Overclock, and Mad Ability at once, so that involves using it so early that you don't even think it can damage Phayze, but it does. So that's good. And not wasting any time hitting the ZMGs either. Only during the invulnerability phase, where he jumps forward, should we damage. I actually kind of messed up this run and should have hit the ZMGs, but instead I hexed. And that was very dangerous, because there was a good chance that Hex could jump to that mob-shoved BFB, but thankfully, I think I threaded the needle and it didn't jump. Once that happened, I knew this had to be the run. We're basically bounded by the Homeland cooldown, because that is the longest out of the 3 important abilities. So we don't have to refresh the other 2 abilities immediately, but I'm spamming the hell out of 4 the moment it's about to be up, because every single second matters here. Also, I'm not using Glue Strike, in case you're wondering. That would get me more damage. However, it would also make the Mob Shove damage the FBFB more, which would kill the stall. And as you saw, it already naturally popped it down to an F Moab, so using even just 1 Glue Strike would kill the stall immediately. It also is, of course, ideal to not have your Mad ability be up during the jumps forward. However, it's not really, it's kind of out of my control, such as the last jump here. Just kind of have to live with the wasted damage, but this was the earliest we've ever hit 1/4. It looks so goddamn dire from here. The FBFB pops down now. In hindsight, I think what I could have done is maybe use the Glue Strike when the FBFB is at 1 HP, because then it won't transfer to a layer under. So that would technically get me a little bit more damage on Phayze. Thankfully, that did not end up being a difference though. After this mad ability, we still only have 200k HP to go. So how the hell is this going to work? The further Phayze is away, the less accurate the shots are. But again, this is why every single second matters. We have 1 more cycle of Mad ability just before we exit, so bring it on. The Mad ability gets us down to 15k HP, and I was sweating my ass off. Praying the missiles did enough damage before it exited, and guess what? It happened. I wish I live commentated this portion so that you could actually see my reaction and show you that I actually do have a hint of emotion after all. But you'll just have to imagine it in your head. Absolute cinema. That is what we call pushing it to the limit, and if this score still ends up losing, well, I think I just gotta tip my cap to Lazy Lizard. Let's fast forward now to Friday, where the playoff results are in. Congrats to the top 3. Coming in number 1 is kind of a shocker, but Len Doley at $141,000. Number 2, Pie Truck at 173, and number 3, Jandolf at 176. Before we get to me and my opponent's placement, I gotta show you what Len Doley did. It was mad, of course. Literally everybody at the top did mad, but they used Churchill as their hero, because I guess he does more damage than the amount of extra damages that he does with Totem. But instead of going for a Homeland defense, he's actually able to just go for Call to Arms and make up for that damage by going for, apparently, Tier 4 Alchemist and Desperado. Desperado Tier 3, what that does is it makes the ability more accurate, so it technically is a DPS increase, like, very far away. I will have you know I actually considered Desperado, but only if my original strategy didn't end up working. I would have just added that for a worse score. Oh yeah, and one additional note is that Mad up on that platform, I guess, is a little bit better because as you see in the exit, the ability actually doesn't get hit by the wall. I guess I should have considered that spot, but well done. You actually don't need Mad up on top. Pytrek doesn't even Arctic Wind it and puts the Mad all the way at the bottom with an Ultra Boost, which apparently still ends up working, much to my surprise. Jandoff literally same strategy except Arctic Wind. And this here was Lazy Lizard submission, beating the boss with plenty of time to spare with a score of 285,000? Okay, I hope this isn't offensive, but I can't tell if this was a serious run or not, because that defense looks really overkill, and I'm sure he could have done better. So that means I advanced over the quarterfinals, and in case you're curious, here were the results of everybody. Of the 11 people who actually submitted, Lazy's was actually 11th, so that's why I said what I said. Could have just stuck to my ninja strategy and won, but obviously, no way to know. So I hope you stay tuned for what will likely be the actual last episode of this boss tournament, as I'm up against Pytrek, who has destroyed me in every single round except for one so far. Top 8, or rather top 7, is already better than I would have guessed before starting this tournament. As a heads up, the next Trinity round will only start after Update 50, so you might have to wait a couple weeks or longer for to see the next episode. In the meantime, do check out all of the other videos of this boss tournament if you missed it. I'm sure you'd enjoy them if you did.